Hello, everyone. We are live again. Let me know who has joined me from the different places. I think LinkedIn, this is streaming as well. So write in the chat so I know who is there with me. Hi, everyone. I am Zora, and this is actually my second Level Up Live, which I'm hosting on Fridays. And I'm just going to be sharing with you a bit more about Level Up Live. Let's see if people are able to join in. I see already few people watching, so if you can do me the favor and make me feel a bit more technically at ease, if you can send me a little message on the chat. But seems to work. Happy about that. Let's move on. Level Up Live. Why on earth am I doing it? Why on earth on a Friday afternoon? Isn't there any better time? Hello, Oksana. Hi, Alina. Thanks for joining. Level Up Live is a no-nonsense leadership development for leaders and want to be or become leaders in 30 minutes. My aim is to simplify complex topics in 30 minutes in a very tangible, practical way, so you can go away and do something about it. This is no theory. This is actual practice and actionable tools that you might leave with you in the pocket. And why Friday afternoons is because we all know how our brains are fried by Friday afternoon, and we keep on doom scrolling things. So why not actually join a Level Up Live with me, have some inspiration and ideas, and end your week in a high, and then enjoy the weekend and go implement these ideas maybe next week. So that's why. Right, let's move forward. Hello, Serdar, as well. Nice to see you again. Right, there are some new people who have, or quite some new people who have started to follow me on LinkedIn. So very shortly, I'll introduce myself. You didn't come to here to listen, hear about me, but just to let you know who am I and what's my background. I'm originally from Finland, lived in Switzerland now over 20 years. I stopped counting at some point. And I've been 20 years in HR. 9 of those were at Apple, and then others with Ericsson, Deloitte, IKEA, and other companies as well. So that's kind of what I have in my back pocket. Also, I'm a licensed psychologist. So what I present to you is not butchered methods, but are evidence-based methods. So how I turn my thoughts into tools is looking at what are the psychological theories and approaches related to it as well, and also executive development tools that are available. What do? I am a culture builder and executive developer. I support corporate teams with culture change journeys and executives. I've coached over 400 executives during my 20 years, so some experience in there, and that's definitely the behavior change part. Is definitely my passion to help executives with. And also I do keynote speeches, and I'm a fractional CHRO. So I support maybe startups or smaller companies with some of these more strategic questions that they might be pondering about. But like I said, you didn't come here to learn about me. So let's continue. Right. What you did come for is to understand how to avoid hiring, or at least minimize hiring toxic leaders or toxic hires. This approach looks specifically towards leaders, but the same kind of mindset and aspects you can also apply into anyone, whether you are a leader or a non-leader. And how can you, as a hiring manager or recruiter or HR, kind of level up your assessment skills with that? Right, 3 goals for today and a little goodie at the end, as I promised before Christmas. So today we will go through the 3 goals of a toxic leader. What are they kind of aiming for? And we will touch also on the so-called toxic triangle, which is an approach that people a lot smarter than I have pulled up together, researchers who have been studying this as well. Then I will share with you some ways, some 9 questions that you can use to probe toxic traits in an interview based on those 3 goals that people may have, toxic leaders may have. And then we will look into what are the kind of, if you ended up hiring a toxic leader but are not sure, or want to make sure that that wasn't the case, how can you, in the first 90 days, what are the signs that will start to surface if the person has toxic traits? And then at the end, I will share with you a little gift. And the link to that gift will be at zoralazaro.com/level-up. There are, I will have to still link it into that, but right now, after the session, when I link it to that website, then you can go download it there as well. Or you DM me your email, and I can then send you the link as well. Right. Enough talking, Zora. Let's move on. I confess, I was once lured by a toxic leader, a toxic manager, who initially, I must say, I was almost like I felt super good in this person's presence, and felt like, wow, I feel seen, and I feel like treated like very specially. Very soon to understand that that was part of the kind of tactics that this person was using. Toxic leaders know how to test and see which individuals are there for threat and which individuals will comply or collude with you. So I confess, I've experienced that too. If you've experienced that, write it into the chat as well, so I know I'm not the only one. But initially it felt, I think the charm toxic leaders have is that they can make you feel extremely great. They can push you up like a balloon, and then they will pull you down as well when they want. So if you have experienced something like this, feel free to share, or maybe if you don't feel comfortable to share, not necessary also. But yeah, I confess, I kind of like, that was early part of my career. I was in a bit fooled by the act that I saw. Where does that come from? See, here's the thing, and this is the part which I said more people more smarter than me have developed. Hogan and the company, his peers, created something called toxic triangle, and said, you know what? Toxic leaders never exist alone. Toxic leaders are individuals who are highly charismatic. They need and use power. They have certain narcissistic traits. Not all are maybe narcissists, but there are narcissistic traits like grandiose and this feeling of autocracy and superiority. And what sadly is that there has been negative life themes. They've had to, perhaps in their early childhood, protect themselves by creating toxic dynamics, by surrounding themselves with followers, and that is then why they've created this habit and this kind of pattern, and it's a survival pattern that they've used in the past and now continue to use. It's never been resetted since then. But toxic leaders don't kind of exist by themselves. They need 2 things. They need followers. They need people who are kind of open to follow a toxic leader. Conformers who will kind of put their head down and allow that to happen. And colluders who will see, you know what, I will tag along with this person and I will gain something from it. Those followers are definitely the fuel that toxic leaders need in order to kind of gain place in an organization. And what they also need is a conducive environments. Companies with very strong culture and values, and not only as a lip service on their walls and pamphlets. Those companies take action towards toxic leaders as well and ensure they don't see many days in those companies. But if you have instability as a company, maybe a lot of turnover, maybe the business is not performing, and therefore the focus is on that. Maybe there's a perceived threat by the business not performing, or a change happening. People might be open to somebody who then with the charisma comes in, regardless if that comes with a double-edged sword in a way. And then also there are questionable values that the toxic leaders very quickly test and realize which values are here truly appreciated and which ones I can bend. And lack of governance. So toxic leaders are not always held, or mostly are not held accountable for what they do. So there's a lot of blind eyes happening towards them. I hear what Serdar is saying. This year I experienced, and Alina as well. Yeah, toxic leaders are there. And this session is really geared to help you out to know how to avoid hiring them or spotting them if you've already hired them. So what are the 3 goals of a toxic leader? So the pain we have to address. Maintaining dominance, protect their reputation, and eliminate threats. Those are the 3 drivers that make a toxic leader navigate through their life and career, unfortunately. So how do they do that? They maintain dominance by control and power. They have different tactics, whether it's micromanaging, being autocratic, kind of belittling and fueling insecurity in others and showing I have the power, I have the knowledge, I'm the boss. And those are the ways that they gain control and power and maintain dominance. Now, not every micromanager is a toxic leader. And that's the whole thing. So you need to look at the entire kind of dynamic happening. There are a lot of micromanagers who just do it out of insecurity and feel like, I don't know any other way to operate. They are not necessarily toxic leader as such. But yes, micromanagement is definitely one part of toxic leaders as well. Why? Because they don't want to put any way their reputation at risk. So they want to protect their reputation. They obsess over their image. They take credit, or they blame if something went not so well, or they play with victim and said, well, this was a misunderstanding, or some external kind of forces or circumstances influenced it. They will manipulate the perception of them. And this is very difficult in an interview, because they come into an interview to charm you, to give that insight to you that, wow, this person is powerful and driven and successful leader. So they will try to also in an interview setting and during the first 90 days create that perception that they want. And lastly, they are known for eliminating threats. They create division, not unity, because unity is a threat for them. As long as they can divide and separate outspoken people away from that kind of from their, in a way, empire, and play favorites, create inner circles, they reduce resistance, because people will realize, okay, if I'm not in the inner circle, I better not resist, because I might be out next. Those are the 3 main goals of a toxic leader. What's the cost? That's always when I look at kind of behavior and culture change by design, there's the pain and then there's the cost. And there's a business cost. First, people who will leave a toxic leader are the best talents, because they are outspoken and they are a threat. to this individual. So that is why I always say to the CEOs and executives, be close to your talents, have one-to-one so that you know really what's happening, and you have that open conversation with them. Low engagement, when people are being told to manage, they don't engage anymore. They are not growing. Toxic leaders are not interested in growing people. They are interested in promoting favorites and kind of like building that inner circle as strong as possible to serve the toxic leader. Low innovation, because any new ideas that are not approved by the leader might be very harshly also critiqued and pushed aside. And damaged brand at the end. Unfortunately, that is the case. Even the best companies in the world, their company brand is damaged if they choose to continue to keep toxic leaders, and the talents leaving will share about their experience in those companies. Now, how to assess for toxic leaders? Let's dig in. And what you will see next is really an overview of those questions that I've prepared for you. But before even any interviews, remember, they are aiming to charm and manipulate perception. So in an interview setting, it is sometimes really hard to spot a toxic candidate. But if you know what to look for, you might start to smell smoke at some point. And usually if you smell it, there's probably a reason for it. Then behavioral interviewing, use that. Don't use what do you think about culture, or what do you think about toxic cultures. They know what to answer. Also, don't use yes or no questions. It will give them an easy way out. Use behavioral interviewing. Ask them, tell me about the situation in your career when you had to, and then you express the situation. We'll look into it in a right moment. And then avoid leading questions. They love it when you end the question with and how did you support the team? They know, I need to now say something that shows how I support the team. I might wing it and make it up right now, but don't lead them too much. Keep it open and let them decide which direction they want to take it. And probe deeper for details and for more examples. Toxic leaders are not very good at people-related details, like really understanding, help me understand what the situation was, what the people were feeling, what was the impact, etc. They would struggle with that. So probe for details and ask for more examples. Great leaders have those. Good. Hello, Vaclav. Hello. Nice to see you as well. All right. Like said, you will get the checklist. You don't need to read this through right now, but this is what I've prepared for you. So let's take an example. Probing for control and power. So let's take the middle question there. Tell me about the time when you have regretted having delegated a project to a team member. Now, you could say that a great leader will already perhaps respond to that question with I delegated it, so I'm responsible, and I got some learnings out of that example. So they take accountability. Now, a toxic leader might see this as a chance to boost their reputation and image, and show how they stepped in, they took over, they asserted control again. They expressed clearly the lack of trust, and then they gave it to somebody that they always should have already from the beginning give it to, and had a tough conversation with this person after. So those kind of little cues that come in an interview can be really helpful to start smelling. And then you want to probe deeper. and say, so tell me, how did the person react to it, and what did you learn out of it as a leader? So you can then afterwards still probe deeper for the details and see how they react. Obsess over image. The one thing toxic leaders don't like to talk about is their mistakes. That's the kind of fragile system they are built on. So if you probe about it, probe a couple of times. So because they might have already prepared this weakness question. So can you share a couple of examples of situations when you made a mistake as a leader? Right. So a great leader would pull you a few and show honesty, humbleness, humility, and how they've grown as a leader. A toxic leader might downplay their own mistakes and blame it to others and shift the kind of focus to external reasons why that happened. That's definitely something that they would struggle with. And if you keep on probing on those as well, that could be a way where you start to get a sense if there are some of these signs. They struggle to self-reflect and show that humility that great leaders do. And then probing for eliminating threats. Here again, you will have all these questions in the checklist, in the gift that I give you at the end. But if you ask them saying, look, tell me about the time when you had to make a decision about assigning a high-profile project to one team member over others. A great leader would look at, yes, I recognize which individuals have had some of those projects, who needs the next chance, and talk through very transparently their process. Toxic leader approach is a bit different. They might very quickly say, you know what, I knew who to give it to, and this person is great and reliable and always delivers. These kind of trusted individuals, and they don't really see anything bad about it and say, yeah, it was a great project as well. So there's 9 questions for you that you can look deeper into and think, how can you use them in your interviews to probe for toxic traits? Now, let's move into the next one about first 90 days signs to watch. And before we go there, just a reminder, if this kind of format, you like it, I am doing next sessions coming up already next week. So please go sign up so you can reserve a spot for you, and don't forget to join. And on that website, I'm building it right now, so it's a bit patchy for the moment, but we are going to be uploading all these events there upcoming for 2025. And there you can then at the end also register and also see the recordings, as well as download the goodies. Good. So first 90 days. Again, remember, in the first 90 days, like I shared, I confessed, it was super charming. The perception of the perception was very different of the person in the first few days than later on. They will start to create an inner circle. They will start to go maybe on a lunch with a group of employees a bit too often, where you can see others starting to feel like, well, he or she doesn't go with me out for lunch. Well, what do I need to get to be there? You will start to see early signs of division, where you can see that, well, part of the team is excited about this leader, and part of them might be rather disengaged. And, well, like I said, your top performers and high performers and talents will very quickly sense that they might be seen as a threat, and you might want to connect with them for feedback. And what I've done for you is listed down the kind of behavioral, almost behavioral signs that you can probe. You can either observe yourself, or you can go and ask the team. If you're the hiring manager, you can have in your one-on-ones to very broadly get the team's experience related to these 3 goals that the person has. A great leader, yes, the responses will be different regarding these areas. A toxic leader, the team within 90 days will start to voice over, to say, you know what, this feels a bit too much of control, too much of self-promotion, and I see the best people already leave and update their CVs. So this is in the also in the checklist that I will share with you. And yes, before I go into questions and answers, I'm just going to run through the checklist. You have it then afterwards through email. If you ping over to me your email or sign up on the website. This is basically the checklist. I've also added the kind of green lights, like what the best leaders could say or reflect in an interview question. So that's for you as a preparation for an interview checklist to say, okay, which questions will I use to assess if there are any toxic traits coming up in the conversation. And the second one is this the first 90 days checklist that you can take in your conversations, maybe with the individuals teams, and just not go in front and so has this person been doing these? Not that, but be aware what are the signs you need to notice very quickly if they are there to be able to intervene. Right, that was a very, very quick go through. And next week, I'm going to do this again, actually on Thursday, differently. So it's about, keep your stuff together for Christmas. How do you set boundaries during Christmas time? Now I'm going to take some questions still for the last minutes. If you have any, feel free to share with me. I see there is can you coach a toxic leader? I have experienced that these toxic leadership patterns come from very, very deep. Like said, these have been adopted maybe in the high school, in the school, in the kindergarten. In my 20 years of doing HR, I've experienced that you can try to give feedback. They might go silent for a while and brush up their kind of appearance for a while, but inside the anger turns into resentment. It's like a brewing thing, and eventually the same behaviors come out in a way or another. So I have not had very positive experiences of trying to coach toxic leaders, and honestly, put your time into developing great leaders than trying to coach somebody who has already demonstrated really, really bad behaviors. Give them feedback, and if they respond, great. But if they don't, that's a choice. Any other questions that might come? Thank you, Serdar, for the feedback. Love that. And yeah, well, in that case, I will ask you to check out the next week's session about setting boundaries and how to keep them both professionally and privately. And yes, thanks for joining for today. And I hope to see you next week. Bye for now.